small business resources, and financial literacy. Visit WURDworks.com right now and take the next step in your professional journey. Livelihood is supported by the Nightland Fest's Local News Transformation Fund, Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equity and Journalism Fund, and the Solutions Journalism Network. This is WURD Radio,
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
Black Talk Media.
The views and opinions expressed by the guests, listeners, and hosts of any program on WURD Radio do not necessarily reflect those of ownership, management, or advertisers of this station.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Chris Murray Report on WURD Radio 900 AM, 96.1 FM. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot to talk about. We got Eagles closing, season-ending finale that ended in probably one of the worst debacles in history. We have NFL playoffs. We have boxing. We're going to talk a little bit of Sixers, and let's see what else. And we're gonna be talking about Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz moving forward. So we got a lot to talk about. A lot of guests coming in today, but I have to start the show. Got to start this show off. We take pride in the fact that we also cover social issues in sports and all that. And by the way, everybody, Happy New Year! Since I wasn't here last week, I wasn't here last week because I got married. But we'll get to that in a moment. But the thing is, I wanted to talk about the events that happened this past Wednesday when when our U.S. Capitol was stormed by Trump protesters. Really, they weren't protesters; they were, insurrectionists, people who were, seditionists, people who were traitors to the country because they wanted to overturn the votes of people of color and people who voted in this election, and it was disgraceful what we saw, but it basically underscores the fact that, once again, Colin Kaepernick and those who took part in protests, LeBron James and WNBA players and all those other people who took part in those protests last summer, were once again right. And the fact that you had the cops at the U.S. Capitol, the citadel of democracy in this country, you had the cops almost enabling those people to come into that building, and people got killed. They ransacked some of the offices. And once again, the double standards exist. And if you didn't see white privilege on full display on Wednesday, you got a whole package of it. And once again, I will say this again in less strident terms, but from the last time I said this, don't ever criticize a Kaepernick or anyone else who protests for racial justice in this country. Don't ever call them unpatriotic. They're doing the very thing that is patriotic, to fight for the idea that all people of color, all people can live up to the principles of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, and that black people and people of color are citizens of this country who vote, and to try to overturn the rights of American citizens to vote, and to try to throw their votes out as if they didn't count, is, to me, is just a highlight of racism, and just a highlight of people who would rather not see democracy take place. So I'm not going to spend the whole time on the show talking about this, but once again, the idea, and I'm going to keep hammering on this because we keep hammering on this in the sense that, they always like to tell black athletes to shut up and just play. And the very people who stormed the Capitol basically tried to take people's rights to vote away, to suppress. It was another attempt by the Trump administration to suppress people's votes. It kind of reminds me a little bit of how a guy named Augusto Pinochet back in 1973, basically overthrew a democratically elected government with help from the United States. And, the idea that people are willing to overthrow the democratic process in this country is really frightening. So I've said what I've said on that. Now let's talk about sports. Okay. This week, your Philadelphia Eagles caused quite a stir in the game against the Washington football team, who has a playoff game tonight. They are the NFC Eastern Division champions at 7-9. They get to host a playoff game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, Jordan, I got to ask you the question. I ask you a question, brother, because I don't want this to be on me. And by the way, did you see my new wedding ring?
I do. Yeah, ring. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, Cody says congratulations as well.
Yeah. Thank Cody as well, because I was happy last week. I really was. I was so happy to be married. I'm not gonna lie. If you saw it on Facebook, I was really, really happy. I'm happy now, and this is our week anniversary and whatnot. So you got to say happy anniversary to my wife, Miss Denise Clay Murray. Although as a reporter, she is still Denise Clay. So that's one thing. But let me say this though. We watched that game last week.
Yes.
And at the point to where they took a couple of bad things about the point where they took Jalen Hurts out of the game. Number one, when it was 4th and goal, you knew you weren't going to score against that defense. Kick the field goal to tie the game. They go for it, and Jalen Hurts, short hopped the pass. Perhaps it should have been completed, but, the thing is he was under duress, and they threw the ball away. And then, of course, they inexplicably benched Jalen Hurts, and they benched Jalen Hurts. And by the way, those of you who want to call in, because I have a friend of mine in New York who wants to call into the show to complain. But if you want to call in, 215-634-8065, 1-866-361-0900. You want to call in about anything related to sports, anything about the show. So they pull Hurts out of the game.
Right.
For Nate Sudfeld because, Doug Peterson says he wants to get a look at Nate Sudfeld. Dude, he's been the backup quarterback for the past 4 years. What else are you going to see from him? They turned the game with playoff implications into the 4th week of the preseason.
It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. When I was watching that game, I was just like, oh, I think we're getting a little feedback here.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're getting feedback?
Yeah,
can you hear me
just
now?
a little bit. Yeah, I can hear you, but I just hear just like a little echo in the background. But not anymore.
It might be. Okay, not anymore. Okay,
yeah.
Good.
But as I was looking at the game, I'm just like, what's Nate Sudfeld doing in the game? Like, you have how is he going to give you a chance to win the game? Like, I do remember him saying in the press conference saying that he was playing to win the game. Well, that doesn't seem like it when you put Nate Sudfeld in there.
I was at the press conference.
Yeah. And
it didn't make any sense.
Right.
And it would have gotten to me. I would have asked him, I'm like, Coach, you turned this to a preseason game. Does that? And to me, that says a couple of things. I don't know if you read my column in the Sun this week. I did a column on Jalen Hurts this time. And, and I'm going to deal with that probably toward the end of the show with Lloyd Vance, who's going to be with us today. And one of the things that told me was they're not entirely committed to the development of Jalen Hurts. That's one thing. That told me that. But I'm gonna get to that point in a moment. But you could see Jalen Hurts on the sideline saying, that's not right. And a couple of players from had to restrain. We're restrained from Doug Peterson because, to me, in this situation, with the way I look at it, it's like, wait a second. This is your division rival, okay? You want to do everything they can to stop them, even if it puts the Giants into the playoffs. I'm going to address that situation in a moment.
Right.
Because I know Giants fans are crying, but here's the deal.
Oh, my goodness. You
shouldn't be crying because you finished 6-10. No 6-10 team deserves to be in the playoffs.
Right,
you
nobody.
Shot yourself in the foot by losing the three of your last 4 games, and then you had to depend upon Philly to get you in the playoffs.
So how you gonna expect that? Especially since we only got about 4 wins. That's it. You're gonna depend on the team that only has 4 wins, and not to mention their fan base goes on the Nate Sudfeld's page and sends like hate comments on his posts and stuff. It's like, what do you expect? Like, number one, Nate Sudfeld's a backup. Like, I already knew that. You seriously think a backup's gonna help you get into the playoffs? You should have knew that from the bat.
Yeah, and the thing about it, you lost 3 of your last 4 games.
Right.
You lost a game to another playoff contender getting that's in the playoffs, to the Baltimore Ravens, and you hardly put up a fight. I saw that game. The Giants hardly put up a fight in that game. And so so all of a sudden, Giant fans, because I don't want to hear from anybody, Eagles fans or Giants fans. I don't want to hear from any of y'all, because the thing is that Eagles fan, you can't be supportive of what took place. The thing about, they might have beaten the Washington football team. They might have won that game. Give Jalen Hurts a chance. Put Jalen Hurts in those situations. Those are instructional if you're committed to him as your quarterback. That's right. I don't think, in all honesty, that they are committed to Jalen Hurts as their starting quarterback. I really, even if they get rid of Wentz, although they've been talking about in the front office that they might bring Wentz back. I've been reading reports about that. And supposedly, if you want to believe Chris Mortensen, he says that the relationship between Wentz and Doug Peterson is irreparably damaged. How are you going to bring him back in that situation?
Yeah.
Okay.
That actually makes more sense about their relationship being fractured. So.
Yeah. Their relationship. And I can't say that Chris Mortensen is wrong, because Chris Mortensen is a well-respected NFL reporter. He's well-respected around the league. He has his sources, and a lot of times he is right. But the thing is, here you have a situation when in the front office. Let's say something. This is a front office. Howie Roseman. Now, a couple of years ago, I was singing his praises. I'm not gonna lie. I was singing his praise. I thought he did a good job of putting that team together. But the last couple of drafts, okay, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside over DK Metcalf, and I did a story. I had to pull my story up that I did. I did 2 stories on the Eagles season in review, and one of the things that I did in doing this story, I did some stats, and I had to pull up I just pulled up a copy of my story, because I was looking at the front, Okay, so last year, they picked J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, right, over DK Metcalf. Okay, I'm gonna let you know where I'm going with this. Okay, in the last 2 years, DK Metcalf has become one of the league's most dangerous receivers with the Seahawks. He has 141 receptions for 2,203 yards and 17 touchdowns. Okay. Arcega-Whiteside has 14 receptions for 254 yards and 1 touchdown in 2 years. Okay. Now, flash forward to this year. 2020, you had the 21st pick in the draft, still available on the draft board. Still available on the draft board is Justin Jefferson out of LSU, who had a monster season in his final year with the Bayou Bengals. Okay, the Vikings didn't make the playoffs, but here's the deal: he had 88 receptions, 7 touchdowns, and set an NFL rookie receiving record, broke in the one that was held by Randy Moss for 1,400 yards, 1,400 yards. You picked Jalen Reagor. The Eagles picked Jalen Reagor. Not to say that Reagor is a bad receiver or a bad guy,
Right.
but he caught 31 passes for 396 yards and 1 touchdown, out most of the year with a variety of injuries, including a thumb injury. Okay. Now, I'm sorry. I railed about this during the draft. I railed about this during last year's draft. I really railed about this year's draft because you had a tremendous class of receivers. You could have picked T. Higgins. You could have picked a whole lot of guys. Instead, you settled for a guy from LSU who really didn't, it was okay. It was all right. But, I mean, it's almost like, Al Davis picking Darius Hayward-Bay out of Maryland because he had a 4.3 40, and he didn't really do much. Of course, he didn't do much in the pros either. But the thing is, your front office whiffed on those situations. And they talked about it, and they talked about it in a sense that, we know we miffed on it, but we're thinking long-term that, Reagor could be better. And he might be. Don't get it twisted. He might. You never know how these things turn out. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we're wrong, and I don't mind being wrong about something, but the thing about it, how much would Jefferson have helped this team? But then again, with Carson Wentz struggling, we wonder about that. But
right.
But the thing is that you whiffed on 2 people that everybody in the city. I mean, the guy who covers the Eagles for ESPN, I mean, everybody was saying it. So we have Brother Mike from Ohio, OHIO. I want to talk about Justin Fields. He had a heck of a game last week in the college football playoff. That's championship Monday.
Hey,
but Mike,
good morning, Chris. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Congratulations, first of all, man. Your wife was beautiful, and you looked okay as well. But
I get that. Yeah, she was beautiful. I'm just, like I said, I had one job to do, was to say I and do. That was my job.
All right. Hey, Chris. So just a couple quick things. What they did in my mind with taking Jalen Hurts out that game was like a bully just doing something because they knew that they could do it. And it was a shame. However, I am happy that Jalen Hurts has his father in his corner because his father can really help him get through that. But that was disgusting, to say the least. And it just demonstrates who these Philadelphia Eagles are. And like you said, passing on DK Metcalf and the other brother from LSU. In my mind, Jeffrey Lurie is like the Cowboys owner. It's a business for these guys. These guys are not interested in putting a good product on the field for the people of Philadelphia. So that's just my take on that. And I'll hang up and listen to you. Take care.
Well, I felt, I don't know, I just feel like if you're going to have a develop a quarterback, you drafted this kid against the advice of a lot of people in the second round, including mine. And I like Jalen Hurts. And I think Jalen Hurts can be a successful quarterback in this league. I really do. I do think that he can be in the right situation. He reminds me of Russell Wilson with more arm strength. And Russell Wilson with, who's a little bit bigger than Russell Wilson. And I think he can make plays. I think he's a smart enough kid. I mean, this was a young man who studied his play, had to study 2 different systems. He's a good, coachable guy, okay? A good, coachable kid, but you cannot develop him if you don't really play him and play him and put him in those situations. You got to let him and you really got to help him to get to that point. Because one of the things you noticed, now granted, he finished, one of the things that you noticed during when he played was the offense moved with a lot more crispness. They were sharper. They were, Jordan, they moved with a more sense of purpose. But there were also a number of things. They didn't allow the running game to help him out as much as they should. And I don't think that, from what I've heard, that the coaching staff was initially sold on bringing Hurts in there. And that's a bad situation. We talked about Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins blowing that opportunity in Washington. I talked about that last week.
Yes. And
one of the things that I saw with Dwayne Haskins was, number one, he had poor work habits. I'm not giving him a pass at all. Showing up late to meetings does not help you.
No, not a good look.
Not a good look at all. You're the starting friend, but he was brought to an organization that was reluctant to bring him there. Jay Gruden and them protested. Protested the fact that Daniel Snyder insisted on bringing him in because his son went to the Bullis School down in D.C. area. I used to cover that school when I was covering high school sports in the D.C. area. So, from that perspective, and then, the current Ron Rivera, the current coaching staff, they were like, well, he's not their guy. They want to bring in their people. They're going to play. And I'm going to talk to my good friend Kelsey Nicole Nelson about this today at the bottom of the hour to talk about that. They got this guy Meineke that's going to come in and possibly start if Alex Smith is not ready to go. But the thing is that when an organization is not necessarily committed to you, you as a quarterback, you better come to work every day and know more than the coaches do. Okay? You got to know this system better than the coaches, because you got to make the case for yourself. Same thing, and that same thing kind of happened with Vince Young, although Vince Young played well, but Vince Young made the mistake of walking out on his coaches and his team. Bad mistake, bad look. Even though I thought Vince Young was in the right, and as it turned out, Jeff Fisher was horrible at developing quarterbacks, and that's why he got the boot for Sean McVay. Okay, so from that standpoint, when Fisher was coaching with the Rams. And so from that standpoint, you got to come in correct. And if the organization, you take Lamar Jackson didn't have the skills of Dwayne Haskins coming out of college. He didn't have the skills of Jalen Hurts as a passer coming out of college. Okay? So from that standpoint, you got to come correct. But when the organization is committed to you, like the Ravens were committed to Lamar Jackson. They knew he was raw. They knew that he wasn't the best passer in the world, but he was a good athlete, and they have slowly developed him. Hopefully, he wins a playoff game against the Titans tomorrow. I don't know if that's going to happen, but But the thing is, they made him they helped to develop him. When the organization is interested in developing you as a quarterback, they will help you develop. Carson Wentz, prime example. Eagles were committed to him. It was just that Wentz somehow just kind of squandered that opportunity. We got to go to break. You listen to 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURD. The Chris Murray Report will be right back.
This message is from the Philadelphia Department of Public Health. COVID-19 is still a threat in our communities, but we can all do something simple to help stop the spread. It's critically important to wear a mask or face covering whenever you're in public or around others. Yes, even while social distancing. Wearing a mask shows you care for yourself and your community and is essential to slowing the spread of COVID-19. So love yourself, love your neighbors, wear a mask.
Keeping you informed. As a community service, WURD Radio and the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium wants to keep you informed about where you can get no-cost, barrier-free COVID-19 testing this week. These locations offer free flu shots and coronavirus testing. Thursday, January 14th from 3 p.m. till 7 p.m. at Mastery Charter School Pickett Campus, 5700 Wayne Avenue. And Friday, January 15th from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. at Deliverance Church, 2001 West Lehigh Avenue. Stay informed and stay well with WURD Radio.
96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Oh no. Is it?
Okay. Are we back? Are we back on the air? Okay. All right. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, we're back.
Okay, we're back on the. Okay. All right. So, without further ado and further delay, we are close to the bottom of the hour. We have NFL playoffs coming up soon. We're going to be having Kelsey Nicole Nelson talk about the Washington football team, and I gotta get the Washington take on what happened last week in that game. I mean, and it was good for Washington the way, hey, if they're going to give the game away, right? If they're going to give the game away like that, if they're going to give it away, then you might as well take it. I would. I would take it if I got to get in the playoffs, and the team that I need, to lose the game, and the team I'm playing wants to treat the game as a fourth preseason game. Well, I can't help that. I'm just going to play. But before I get to you, Kelsey, I got to take a call. I got to take my man Fishman from University City. Fishman, what's on your mind, brother?
Hey, I'm trying to make some money this week.
You're trying to make some money this week, so who you gonna bet on?
I'm asking you and the young lady I see on the screen. Hey, guess what? She's a cutie.
Yeah.
Give me your winners this week so I can place my bet with the bookie. Give me your winners all this week for the football. I'm talking football. And have a nice day.
You want to know my winners all this week? Okay, I'm going to give you mine. I'm going to give you – take the Bills. Take the Bills. Who else is playing today? Let me pull my schedule up. Take the Bills. I would say take the Tampa Bay. Sorry, Kelsey. I take Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay. Although Washington does have that. Washington does have that defense, and I wouldn't take them. I would not take them lightly. Okay, I wouldn't take them lightly. I would say the Seahawks in a close game against the Rams. I would take those today. As much as it'll pain me to say this, and I'm saying this, I'm going to take the Titans over Baltimore. I'll be rooting for Baltimore, and I hope I'm wrong on that. The Saints over the Bears, and I'm picking Cleveland to beat Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh. I don't think Pittsburgh wants to be in the playoffs this year. Something about Pittsburgh. So those are your winners and whatnot. Now, don't blame. Now, I'm just giving you. You don't have to take my advice. You don't have to take my advice. Those are what I think the winners are. Ask someone else; it may give you a different answer. So does that help, Fishman? Fishman,
Nope,
are we
he's
still
gone.
here? Oh, he's gone. Okay, it is my pleasure. It is my distinct pleasure now to formally introduce my guest, Kelsey Nicole Nelson, who works with the Washington football team. You're the host of The Fit and The Life, right?
Yes, correct.
And you do a number. You are all on social media. I can't keep up with you. And, I just but like I say, when I do look in, you do a tremendous job and you know your stuff. I got to ask you, what's the general mood in Washington and the DMV about the Washington football team taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers tonight at 8:15 on NBC? Are people enthusiastic about this team, or people ticked off that they're only 7-9? What's the mood in DC right now about this team?
Yeah, well, Chris, thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure to join you, and congratulations to you on getting married. So we have to shout you out, Chris. We got to give you some love. But I will say, the DMV area, I'll tell you this. Right now, I think the DMV is in mixed emotions, and it's not fully because of football. I think you have a DC area that's getting over what took place on Wednesday, and I'm talking, of course, about the Capitol riots. But then also, I think the one glimpse of hope, and the one reason when I talk to people that they're smiling, Chris, is because of this Washington football team today. And look, we love the DMV area, and that's why we were so hurt, right, by Wednesday's events when people can come into the city and destroy the city. But then you have hope on the other end because Washington's playing at home, FedEx Field, Landover, Maryland, and they have TB12 coming to town. And look, Washington's believing in themselves. At the beginning of this football season, no one thought the Washington football team would be where they are. We didn't think they had those hats on and those T-shirts that said the 2020 NFC East champions, right? Because it was Philadelphia's to win or lose. Everyone was talking about Philly at the beginning of the season. And lo and behold, number 99, Chase Young, hometown kid, just giving us hope. We see this defense. We're talking about defense in Washington. And you have to think about it. Washington's been deprived for a long time. You see me wearing the WNBA sweatshirt. The Mystics just won. We've had the Nationals win. We've had our sports teams do pretty decent, right, as a district of champions. But the two teams that had to get it together was who? The Washington football team and the Washington Wizards. And lo and behold, they're in the postseason in Washington. They've won in the division, something that they haven't done since 2015. And Chris, the last time they hoisted the Lombardi Trophy, I was about to come out of my mother's womb at 6 pounds and 14 ounces. So it's been that long. I put it to that extent that millennials like me, we want to see the glory days, right? We want to see the heydays. And this year, not saying that we can fully get it done, but this, knowing that there's hope against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and that this team is not afraid of Tom Brady. You saw Chase Young. I want Tom Brady, right? They're not afraid. They know this defense is going to be a key component to it. And then I think Washington also knows all of the obstacles they've overcome, the adversity that they faced this football season, Chris. Of course, Alex Smith's remarkable journey, still to see him on the football field when at one point he was almost at the decision to either have a leg or not have a leg, to play football again or to not play football again. 17 surgeries later, here Alex Smith is leading this team. You have Tyler Heineke on this team, who was at one point taking classes at ODU, right? Like his biggest worry at one time was getting an A on a test. Now, lo and behold, your biggest concern now is maybe helping Washington beat Tom Brady. Talk about life coming full circle. And then Ron Rivera, of course, defeating cancer. So Washington, there's lots of hope. And I'll tell you, the NFC East Championship gear is flying off the shelves. I've seen more Washington football gear just this week alone, Chris, than I have in a long time. And I'm talking about since that RG3 era of Washington, because people are believing again. So I'll tell you, there's a lot of emphasis on this game. And people do think if the defense comes through and if Washington's offense can click, that there is a chance that Tom Brady, sorry to ruin your TB12 time in Tampa Bay, but it just might not get the job done.
Well, I was going to ask you about Alex Smith. Will Heineke start in his place? Because, there's been talk that he may not start this week, and that Heineke was taking first-team reps. So do you see him starting this week in this in this particular playoff game?
Look, the reporters in D.C. have been grilling head coach Ron Rivera on that very question, and it's pretty much going to be a game-time decision. He's practiced less this week, I'll note, than last week, but Alex Smith, look, he's made this journey. He doesn't want to stop now, and the team believes in him. Every single player on this team talks about, they can never give up hope when a guy like Alex Smith is on that football field. But I do think, because we know Tampa Bay's defense is solid and good, that they're going to bring the pressure. We do have to really look at what head coach Ron Rivera said this week about using possibly two quarterbacks. Tyler Heineke is 100%. You should never turn down a guy that's 100% in a playoff game, right? Because it's win or go home. But at the same time, what Alex Smith has done, and he's been in the postseason, he is a veteran. I do still think we will see him on the football field, but we both know that if he's not able to move in the pocket, if the defense is getting to him, you do not want to risk injuring that leg again. Because, of course, we've all seen the remarkable comeback story, and we never want to see him back there again.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about the rushing attack. all season long, I think the thing that gets their offense going is the running back. And I wanted to ask about how important will that be in terms of getting, keeping the pressure off of whoever's behind center on Sunday.
Yeah, I think the running game is going to be huge because also with the running game, you have to think about time of possession. And one thing Washington wants to do is keep Tom Brady off of the football field because we know when he's on the football field, good things can happen. And, of course, we don't want that in Washington. And running the ball, someone like Antonio Gibson, someone that's so special, someone that Bruce Arians has even said that at one point he was thinking about drafting when he was coming out of Memphis because, of course, we know him now as the Swiss Army knife, a guy that can do multiple things. And then J.D. McKissick, who has just rose to the occasion with Antonio Gibson's injuries. I mean, I think and then Barber, too, right, if need be. So I think this Washington run game is something special. It gets it going. And then also these running backs can obviously be dual threats because they can also catch the football and be reliable targets for the quarterback. So I do think it's going to be a very important component of today's game. If Washington can get the run game going just by hard-hitting, safe football, control that time of possession, again, Washington does have a chance to possibly win this football game.
Okay. Now I got to ask, we talked about this team, the current team as it is now.
Right.
Dwayne Haskins, what went wrong? What's the reaction of everybody in the D.C. area? Because he's a kid, that went to Bullis out of Montgomery County, and
my area.
Yeah, your area. He went. This is a guy who one season at Ohio State threw 50 touchdown passes. From a physical ability point of view, I felt that coming out of college, coming out of college, that he's better than Lamar Jackson in terms of passing skills and all that. Okay. And I feel, and like I said, Lamar Jackson, I think, has developed into a decent quarterback.
Right.
What went wrong? What's the scuttlebutt around the DC area about him? Was Haskins really taking in too many voices from people who were in the DC area?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, Haskins, we've had this love-hate relationship with Haskins for the past seasons that he's been in Washington, and I'll tell you, we're heartbroken. Haskins was supposed to be the franchise quarterback for this football team, went to Ohio State. You talked about his local roots. A guy that went to Bullis that we adopted, of course, because he's from Jersey, came to Moco and did wonderful things at Bullis. I mean, at one point in his high school career, and I met Haskins when he was in high school, they had to ask him to stop carrying the football around so much around the hallways. This man loved football that much, and then you think about what he was doing at Bullis. Before practice, he was there. After practice, he was there. Texting guys like Stephon Diggs, hey, can we come to a throwing session? I mean, that's how dedicated he was to quarterback position. And then lo and behold, we saw his career at Ohio State, a remarkable ending to his career at Ohio State. And he comes to Washington, right? Anytime you come to the hometown team, there's going to be extra pressure because we've seen you grow and we know what you can do. But he came to Washington and he didn't live up to full expectations. Now, again, he was a solid, but I think especially when we needed that leadership, when he wore that captain badge on his chest, people had questions about him. They felt like his heart wasn't in it, right? They felt like he just wasn't fully there, that he wasn't giving his all. And it was a promising start to the season. He had lost some weight coming into training camp. He said, how much he wanted to win for Washington, and lo and behold, we saw how he performed this season. And then I think the two COVID instances, Chris, is what really got us, because this pandemic has been hard on all of us, but we know what sports teams have had to go through to even just play the football game. I mean, the Browns are asking this question now, right, as they try to get over their COVID-19 protocols, but not to do it like fool me once, shame on you, but fool me twice, shame on me. And I think that's how we're feeling in Washington, because he was supposed to be that promise. Washington has been through a lot of quarterbacks, Chris, right, in the past 2 decades. Yeah. And so he was supposed to be our solid start. For a long time, we've been kind of courting quarterbacks. He was supposed to be that long-standing relationship, right? You just got married. He was supposed to be our marriage. We were supposed to be married to Dwayne Haskins for a long time, and lo and behold, now we're divorced. We went through that, Kim Kardashian, Chris Humphrey short marriage, and now we're asking why, and now we have questions at the quarterback position. So it's like, it was a fairy tale. It was so great to see him here, but lo and behold, a lot of people are hurt by Haskins. I think that's why you're seeing such nastiness, and I'm not a fan of the nastiness I've seen towards Haskins. I'm so excited to see that he'll be visiting with the Panthers, and I do hope he bounces back, but I think he had a tough love session, right? He had a tough love session, getting the captain badge pulled away from him, and teammates, just kind of looking at you differently when they don't think you're giving your all in a season that the Washington football team has faced so much adversity.
Let me ask this question, though, about that, though. It seemed like the last coaching regime, Jay Gruden, and they weren't that enthusiastic about him Ron Rivera was like, look, you know, I'm not dedicated to this guy. And I would think that in Haskins' case that, you know, you better perform at this point. So was he really missing those meetings, or was it, I mean, you know, or was it just maybe the lack of continuity between the coaching regimes, or what? How much of that is on Haskins? How much of it was an organizational failure?
Yeah, I think, you know, when you look at the organization, right, if your current coach didn't draft you, you have to try to impress them, right? We can use a dating example again. You're meeting a girl's dad. You got to impress them. They see all your daughter says about them, but you have to impress me, right, to pass the final test. Ron Rivera, I do think, gave him that chance, but I think Ron Rivera, again, he didn't see what he needed to see. You can't blame the organization for that. He inherited that guy. Like, if I inherit something, especially if it's some money, I can't be mad at it, right? But sometimes you do inherit bad things, right? There might be something that you inherit passed down from your family that, like, man, everyone in my family has it, and now I just have to deal with it. But lo and behold, it's what you make of that situation. And I think, you know, the organization, you can look at it, but they did give him a chance. Even after that first COVID mistake, he was still a team captain. Remember, he didn't get removed from captaincy until that second time. And I think Haskins had to just keep trying to prove himself. I do think the organization gave him a chance. Now, I do remember when he got benched after that Ravens game. And that Ravens game, he actually wasn't bad right after the Washington football team lost to the Baltimore Ravens. And it wasn't a bad game. I think many thought that game would be a blowout. And guess what, Chris? It was not a blowout. But lo and behold, They asked questions about his maturity level, you know. And then finally, you know, there were some questions about, you know, when he wasn't at a football game. And some people were saying, you know, is it just because he doesn't want to be there? None of that was confirmed. But when he came back, you know, you heard great things. You said, oh, he's talking to Alex Smith. He's trying to learn how to be the best quarterback possible, right? But then lo and behold, he gets the starting position. Washington needs this game. And people just didn't feel like he was doing enough in the pocket, motivating his team on the sidelines. Because one thing, you talked about Lamar Jackson earlier. One thing about Lamar, Chris, when he messes up, you see it. He's mad at himself. And he's sitting right down with the coaches trying to figure out what happened, because I think that's what he's been his whole life. Right. The underdog, right? Where Haskins has kind of always been, I think, great. And I think it was harder for him to kind of trying to play from behind. But guess what? You have to make the best of your circumstances. This is a young Washington football team. There's no excuses. Ron Rivera defeated cancer. This is no excuses. He came in and said it's a no-nonsense type of football team. He removed the infamous ping pong table from the locker room. No nonsense type of football team. Talk about a culture change. You're either with it or you're not, right? So Haskins, I do think he was in a tough situation, but guess what? You got to make lemonade out of any type of lemon that you have. And I think, unfortunately for Haskins, Chris, that lemonade was sour and tart, and now he's no longer here in Washington.
Yeah, and see, that's always the thing, you know, and I think, I don't know, I always think it's a little bit harder for black quarterbacks, but at the same time, I also believe that you got to come in ready to work. This is, you know, and a lot of times kids, and I say this maybe, and the thing is, one of the things that happened, though, I don't want Dwayne Haskins to be indicative of every black quarterback.
Not at all.
You know, we talk about, oh God, I'm having to say, we talk about the guy that came out of Texas A&M, who was supposed to be the Heisman Trophy, and I cannot think of the guy.
Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, Johnny Manziel. Yeah, I'm talking about Johnny Manziel came out with all this hype, and you know he didn't take the game seriously. This level, you know, I don't care how good you are, has humbled a lot of quarterbacks. Yeah, I mean, I remember, and I'll get old school on you. When Vince Lombardi took over the Washington Redskins franchise back then, they had a Heisman Trophy winner on their roster named Gary Beeben of UCLA. And when Lombardi saw that he couldn't complete a simple, like, out pattern on the sideline, Lombardi cut him immediately. You got it. I mean, you can win Heisman trophies. I look at all the Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. Wherever they go, they better come correct. It's one thing to dominate teams like Mississippi State or Clemson or whatever. In the NFL, it's a whole different ball game.
Exactly.
You got to come in ready to work. I don't care who you are. I've seen this game, you know, humble people. So, Kelsey,
and on that point, really, Chris, I just want to say, I think the biggest thing with Haskins, too, is you have to be humble, not humbled. He got humbled during this experience, and I think now for the future of his career, he will be humble. It was a great learning experience for him. And also, black quarterbacks, he's learning from Doug Williams here in Washington. So we did have that leadership of a winning quarterback here in Washington, so I also want to point that out.
Oh, good. Boy, this is a great. I've enjoyed you on the segment, but you got to give me a prediction. Who's
right.
going to? I mean, how does Washington win this game tonight? How do they win this game?
So I've said this all week on radio. Washington's defense is going to have to create turnovers, and they also are going to have to score in this first half. Now, second half, I've loved Washington defensively and offensively, but you do not want to play from behind against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm expecting the secondary has to stay strong. I'm expecting somebody to get a pick on Tom Brady because they will bring that pressure, even though I know Tampa Bay has a good offensive line. But this will be a game of turnovers. This will be a game of pressuring the quarterback. All eyes are on Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne to get up the middle and hopefully, I know it's going to be hard, hopefully get a sack on Brady and just frustrate him in the pocket so he makes indecisive decisions. And then the O-line, protect Alex Smith as best as you can. I have to pick Washington, Chris. I can't pick against my team, and we've been believing in ourselves all season.
Okay, so give me a final score. Give me your final score.
I'm going to do, I've given the score this week, so I'm going to stick to it. 27-20, Washington football team does the impossible, shocks everyone in the world except the DMV area, and finds a way to win this football game.
Okay. Kelsey, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Where can we find you? Where can people find you? Where can you be inspiration to a lot of young women who are watching you right now on this show? Where can we find you?
Yeah, so everyone can check me out on social media. The Real K Nelson on Twitter and Instagram. Kelsey Nicole Nelson on Facebook. Check out my website, kelseynicolenelson.com. And then check out my Washington football shows. The Fit comes out every Friday. The Life comes out every Thursday with my co-host Fred Smoot. And then you can watch me every Saturday morning on NBC Sports Washington at 9:30 a.m. Thanks again so much for having me, Chris. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to go to break. Listen to 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURD. The Chris Murray Report will be right back.
Don't risk catching the flu during the COVID-19 pandemic. The flu shot is a safe and effective way of protecting you and your community from the worst of the flu. Don't say, I should have got my flu shot. Call your doctor or visit your pharmacist and get your flu shot today.
This is not a fad for us.
We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are
Undeniably,
indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media.
WURD.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent Black media.
Okay, we are back. And a couple of things I wanted to mention. The Sixers lost the game this week to an undermanned New Jersey Nets team. But I got to say, so far, the Sixers ain't playing badly. I mean, they were with their second game of the season. Doc has these now. I'm not gonna, it's early in the season. It is early. I get it. I don't like to get excited over early in the season, but the Sixers are playing pretty good. And like I say again, didn't have Seth Curry because of the COVID-19 thing. And once we get him back, guys shoot 51% from three, Jordan? Am I correct on that?
Yep, 51%. A nice, cool 51.
Hot. And Joel Embiid's getting to the low post and is making it easier for his 3-point. And and Ben Simmons took a three. He
finally, well, not finally, but yes.
but here's the thing with that though, Jordan. Here's the thing. I want to hit medium range. I don't need him to shoot all the time. I need him to hit enough medium range jumpers to keep the other team honest.
Yeah, you ain't got to.
I think that you don't have to shoot that much, and and Tobias Harris has been playing well in that situation as well. I think Tobias is going to find his shot. Still got a long way to go, and but I'm impressed from what I've seen thus far, and now that football season is behind me because I spent a lot of time covering football. I'm getting myself back into the to the coverage of the Sixers and covering their what they're doing these days. And
if I'm correct, we have like the #1 defense in the league too.
Yeah.
Efficiency,
That's the thing, and they're and see that didn't happen last year.
Right.
This team is defending, and they're holding leads.
Mm-hmm.
They are holding leads in games. They are holding leads now. There's some things on the there's some things on the internet. One of my on Facebook. One of my Facebook, Joseph Simmons says, Chris, we need the sports reporter to report the long-term effects of COVID-19 on the athlete. You know, that is something that I definitely want to bring in a medical expert on that, because I'm wondering what happens. I mean, they say young people get through it, but now you got these strains of COVID-19. You got these strains of these new strains, these new mutating strains, and so I still say folks got to, wear the mask, man. I mean, but it's hard to play football and not get all that contact and everything. I mean, it's hard to do that, and that's one of the reasons why, when I look at what's going on, and I would like to have somebody, I think I will bring in the guests to talk about some of the long-term effects, because that's the thing that I said earlier in the year that I worried about was the long-term effects. We have Maurice from Southwest Philly. Maurice, how are you, sir?
Good. I am Chris Murray. Let me start with that.
Well, thank you, sir.
I want to say good wishes to the newlywed.
Well, thank you.
And you're all wrong about the Eagles, man. I had to get on you on that. You keep talking about...
Why am I all wrong this time?
Because this is just my opinion. I'm not a real sports guy, but I'm a layman. This is what I see. Ever since Frank Wright left, the Eagles were doomed. Frank Wright was the brains behind the Eagles. Frank Wright, not the coach that's there now. He couldn't get his way out of a wet paper bag. It's Frank Wright that was calling those four down plays and the Philly special. That's Frank Wright. That had nothing to do with the coach that's there now. And
okay, I agree with that. No, I agree with that.
No. When you put all that money into a quarterback, what's the first thing you do? You draft to protect him. Before you look for receivers or anything, you got to protect your investment. There's no way he should have been taking that beating he took this year with the interceptions and the sacks, because he don't have a line. You keep relying on Peterson. True. Peterson was out the pasture when he won the Super Bowl. But you keep sticking it there like all of a sudden he's going to drink the fountain of youth and he's going to come back. He was dying out there. You have to put money in the line first, because the Eagles have always won with hashtag receivers. I mean, you keep replying on the guy. What's the guy from Washington that got him back from Washington? You keep relying on, he's an old man. You keep acting like he's a new draft choice. Oh, we got him back. Yeah, he's good for...
Talking about Deshaun Jackson. Yeah.
It's good for a second now and then. And then you was talking about the other receiver, what he did and what the Eagles receivers haven't done. If that receiver would have been in this core, he might have not performed at all. It's all got to do with the blueprints on how they dish out the plays. That don't mean what he did over there he would have did over here under this management.
You're probably right about that, but let me let me say something I think like in the second round last year, I still think they should have gotten a receiver. But you're right in the sense that they might have gotten, instead of trying to get a quarterback, they should have gotten an offensive line, a highly touted offensive lineman. But the problem was Andre Dillard, who was the tackle that was supposed to replace Jason Peters, had a season-ending injury. He was out for the year. So Peters comes back, and so they won. And then you had Brandon Brooks, who was out for the season again. And so they probably, and this is where I will agree with you, they probably should have invested in an offensive lineman, okay? Second and third rounds, and then maybe, and of course they needed a linebacker on defense, but they should have done that instead of, okay, they said they wanted receivers. Okay, that's fine. First round, you can get a Justin Jefferson or a T. Higgins or somebody like that. But that second round, you're right. They should have instead of going after Jalen Hurts, and I like Jalen Hurts, but maybe an offensive lineman. You're right. They needed an offensive lineman. They thought they had everybody they thought they had, but like I say, Dillard got hurt. Peters hung around. Peters is like I say, God, he will be a Hall of Famer. But he's done.
This is what I want to say. Well, everybody knows. I mean, I'm not even an expert at all. I know much about football as I know about hockey. But I'm just telling you this. When you invest that kind of money in the quarterback, you protect your franchise play. You make sure that nothing happens to him. Maybe you don't win that year, but you know what? You make sure you don't damage him. Now you got a big investment in the guy. He's no good. He's mentally dead because he really didn't win the Super Bowl. And you got to build up his confidence. You can't be bringing in a rookie behind him, even though Hurts is a great player, but bring him in behind him and think that this man is going to be stable. That's all I'm saying. Because, look, if somebody was...
No, you're right. You're absolutely right about that. I agree.
And they gave you a bad producer there, your show wouldn't be the same. Be like, whoa,
that's
what's
true.
going on? He keep messing up. He's playing Martin Luther tapes when you're supposed to be talking and all that. That's why you got to get... That producer is your first line right there, handling the phone call. You wouldn't want me back there trying to do his job. You got to protect that investment.
But I like you, Maurice, anyway. I like you for a whole lot of different reasons. But no, you're right about that. But part of protecting him, let me say this, is that yes, you do need great wide receivers. But there was another component to this as well, in terms of Carson Wentz. From what I understand and from what I know, talking to different people within and without the organization, Carson Wentz was not good in terms of listening to his coaches. We just talked about Dwayne Haskins, that Carson Wentz's relationship with Doug Peterson is supposedly beyond repair. I say that allegedly because no one has come out and truly verified it, and the coaches during the press conferences denied it. But the thing is, if that's the case, if he's not listening to the coaches, you have a problem there. Now, you can get rid of the coach, you can get rid of the player, you can do a whole lot of things, but there, when you have that issue with, and with the coaching staff, and then two, the one thing, when you have a patchwork offensive line, the one thing a patchwork offensive line can do really well, if you stick to it, is run block. And one of the things that they don't do well is that they don't stick with the running game. And the thing is, that's another way, Maurice, of protecting the quarterback. That's another way that you protect your quarterback. You know your quarterback is struggling. And I said something to that Doug Peterson during a press conference, and he blew me off. He blew me off. That's cool. So, from that standpoint, there's a lot of blame to go around, in other words.
Chris,
so you're
Chris,
right.
I want to close with this one. This is what I'm saying. You know why Carson Wentz? This is what the mentality is with Carson Wentz there. If he knows that Frank Reich gave him great plays, and then you got an idiot over there telling you to do something that you really don't want to do, and you get sacked or you get intercepted, everybody wants to blame the quarterback, but actually the coach called the idiotic play. That's what I see. I don't know what everybody else see, but that's what I see. Chris, listen, happy marriage. Remember what I told you. Happy wife, happy life. You stick to that, you'll be married for 20 or more years, brother.
Yeah, I've stuck to that. I've definitely stuck to that. I stick to that. Thank you, Maurice. We got to go to break. You're listening to 96.1 FM, 900 AM WURD, the Chris Murray Report. Will be right back.
Happy New Year, Philly. It's Solomon Jones. The pandemic of 2020 blew the roof off of life as we know it and forced us to make radical decisions once thought impossible. Many parents and grandparents turned to the option of a public cyber education. In thousands of instances, they sought assistance from the one true pioneer and industry leader in public cyber education, Commonwealth Charter Academy. Visit ccaeducate.me and exercise your right to choose a safe, hassle-free, student-focused learning environment your kids deserve. CCA delivers delivers elite online instruction streamed directly to the safety and comfort of your living room. They provide a laptop and headset along with internet connectivity that includes financial assistance, all at no cost to families. CCA has been the gold standard in school choice for nearly 20 years. Visit ccaeducate.me and ring in 2021 with a 5-star learning experience. Again, that's ccaeducate.me.
These are unprecedented times. Challenging how the YMCA works to strengthen community as we have for nearly 170 years. But we've always found ways to help people and communities in times of crisis. Right now, Ys across the country are providing emergency childcare, shelter, food programs, and outreach to seniors. But we can't do it alone. Whether you're connected to the Y or have a fond Y memory, we need you to stay with us. Reach out to your local Y today and stay with us for a better us.
Lifting every voice
Till earth and heaven ring.
This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
Black Talk Media.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Okay, we are back. I am awaiting the call from my man Joe San Laquito. I just sent him a text and hope he's awake today. But yeah, we had an interesting year. We got Joe. We had an interesting year in boxing. I'm gonna start this conversation talking about boxing a little bit, but I want Joe, when you come in, I want to get your before we get to boxing. I want to talk about Carson Wentz. And because you did the big story a couple of years ago on him and all that, who's the fault in that situation for the Eagles this year? Was it Wentz? Was it bad offensive line? Was it coaching staff? What do you think? Why did it break down for the Eagles this year?
Well, Chris, hello?
Yeah, I'm here, right here. I hear you.
Oh, okay. Chris, I might have to check all the above. I would check all the above. No one is more – well, I think there is a few more culpable than others. I think Wentz does deserve a little bit more culpability than the others. Suddenly it kind of gets me how the shifting narrative moves from he suddenly has no one around him to how he had these XFL players around him last year in the last 4 games, and he directs them to the playoffs. So now, Wentz is good with the XFL players, and now Wentz is suddenly bad, while you have Jalen Hurts, who comes in here and beats a good Saints team. Now, Taysom Hill is not exactly Drew Brees, but the offense moves better with Jalen Hurts than it does with Wentz. So there was a considerable fallback with Carson Wentz this year. And again, you had people coming at Doug Peterson and the Eagles organization and it amazes me the betrayal, and I've said it, betrayal that Wentz has given the organization. Wentz is claiming that the organization betrayed him. Well, he has 40 million reasons why the organization didn't betray him. Okay. I believe it's 140, right? That's the contract?
Right.
So he has 140 reasons why the Eagles didn't betray him. And secondly, and again, think about this, Chris. From what I know of the situation, of talking to people that are pretty close to the situation, Peterson thought he was going to play himself out of this funk. Carson, you're going to play yourself out of this. Carson, you're going to play yourself out of this. Carson, you're going to play yourself out of this. And to me, that's a show of faith. To me, that's a show of confidence. And then you have Wentz, and it came from Wentz, and we both know it. And we both know it came from Wentz's agent, and this was orchestrated by the quote-unquote team Wentz. That, now if I don't have my ball, you're going to suddenly take my ball away from me. And so I'm going to take my ball and go home then. You're not going to start me, then I'm going to take my ball and run home. And in Philadelphia, that doesn't relate very well. In Philadelphia, you fight. And in Philadelphia, you fight for your job. And I feel a lot of Wentz supporters out there, we'll say Wentz sympathists, who I think, by the way, I think we saw many of them wearing red trying to climb up the Capitol walls on Wednesday.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think quite a bit of his fan base comes from people like that. And they're trying to make excuses for the young man. I think Carson Wentz could still be a very good player. I just don't think he could do it in the Philadelphia Eagles uniform anymore. And, you know, when you turn around and you demand a trade, well, that says to your teammates, that says, you know what, he doesn't believe in us. And it also says it doesn't believe in himself. Now, I'm wink, wink, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. I'm not going to go too far into this, but I'll just word it this way. I'll use the interesting word. Hypothetically, if I'm in the huddle with the guy and I'm at the 20, looking down by 4 against the Cowboys with 1:58 seconds left. You know, and granted, your mind's on the game and all this, but do you really believe in a guy that suddenly has his job taken away from him, yelling and screaming and pointing a finger, saying that the organization betrayed him and demanding a trade? Are you really going to believe in a guy like that? Are you going to believe in a guy that's going to take you up the field to win a big game with 1:58 seconds left and drive 80 yards? Are you going to believe in a guy like that?
That's a good question because, I mean, Howie Roseman seems to be, from what I'm reading, seems to be optimistic about bringing him back. And if what Chris Mortensen...
Publicly, yeah. I mean, publicly, Chris, you know, and I know, they have to put on a certain face. They can't turn around.
Yeah, I know.
Quarterback.
Yeah, they
not
can't
about
say
to turn
that.
around and damage property that's already damaged. Chris, I know over 50 NFL players. I know a number of head coaches, personally. I know a good handful of GMs in this league. And the word that, you know, and I know, again, we know the sports world. We know I'm far more entrenched in the boxing world. And I know who's talking about who, what said about what, and who said what's about who. You know, but there's word out there in the street, so to speak, that Wentz is a guy that's going to turn face on him. And if he doesn't get his way, he's going to whine like a baby. And he's going to get, you know, instead of toughening up and putting his sleeves up, he's going to whine like a baby and try to get out of Dodge. And again, I am relaying this to you. I'm not saying it's coming from me, but it's coming from others in this league. People know people in this league. People talk in this league. The word's out. So, of course, Howie Roseman and Doug Peterson are going to turn around and put on their face and put on and say the right things. And then, you know, I heard recently some media people were saying, well, Carson doesn't have to explain himself to the media. Well, yes, he does. Yes, he does, because he never denied those reports. When given the chance to deny the reports, he never turned around and shot them down. You know, I'll tell you this, and I know this personally, and you know this personally. When I wrote what I wrote on January 21st, 2019, they got his tail in here. They got his tail in here to respond to that, didn't they now?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, exactly.
They absolutely did.
And what is being alleged now is far more serious than a bunch of guys turning around and just saying, hey, you got to get this guy straight. That was 2 years ago, and he still isn't straight. But, you know, what's being alleged now, and I think there's a lot of validity to it. I mean, Adam Schefter and Chris Mortensen are very, very good. They're esteemed, respected guys in their business. When they say there's strong chance, you know, that this guy wants to be traded, I think there's a 99.9% chance that, guess what, the guy wants to be traded.
Right. But let me ask you this question, though. I looked at the game on Saturday, watched the game on Sunday night. Are they really sold on Jalen Hurts? Because I think Jalen Hurts can be a good quarterback in this league, but I think he's in a very difficult situation, and I'm not so sure that Peterson is really sold on developing Hurts as a quarterback, as a franchise quarterback. And I think that the organization, if they could get a shiny object like a Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, I think that they would pull that trigger tomorrow if they knew they could get it. And so I'm asking the question of you know, are they really sold are they really sold on Dwayne Haskins? I mean, I'm not Dwayne Haskins. I mean, Jalen Hurts. Not Dwayne Haskins. No, I mean Jalen Hurts.
For my opinion, the answer is I don't know. My opinion is I don't know. But I will tell you this, and again, we both know the answer to this. You can't have both of them back next year. Oh, yes, you can. You know, you're dealing with money, you're dealing with all this other business. Well, if there's a will, there's a way, and there's going to be, if they have to, they have to. If Wentz wants out that badly, and it sounds like he wants out that badly, they're going to turn around and try to renegotiate or restructure the contract. So all parties are happy, and maybe he gets some back-end money. The other side of this is this, Chris. The reality of it is this. Who gets the reps in practice? Who's going to hone their craft? Who's going to hone their skills and make themselves better if Wentz comes back, and Wentz comes back as the starter? It takes away from Hurts if Wentz gets the majority of the reps. Okay? Here's the flip side of it. If Hurts is being the starter, and he's earned the starting status, right, it hurts Wentz. Right. Because Wentz isn't getting the reps that he deserves to sharpen up, but certainly to dulled. So he doesn't benefit. You can't have two alpha males in that locker room. And I will say this, what I know. I know the younger players want Hurts. Hurts is really, really like him. I also know Hurts has captain qualities, leadership qualities that relate, I'll word it this way to you, that relate very well to the NFL level. And those are stone cold facts. I don't think anybody would dispute them. Anybody that knows that kid, that's a stone cold fact. That kid busts his tail. Again, not that Wentz doesn't, but Wentz needs to regain his confidence. I don't think he can regain it here in Philadelphia. This is a harsh media market, as we know. You're dealing with jerks like me. I suppose I'm a jerk because I'm the one that planted the seed that, by the way, you know and I know, no one was willing to listen 2 years ago. No one wanted to listen.
No one would, and people did. And I remember people did some not so nice things to you as well. So I got you on that.
People that we know in the media, real first class JOs. So
right. No, I got you there. Now, so I'm gonna switch my focus a little bit. So we talked about the Eagles situation, and I want to talk about boxing this year because I thought that 2020 ended with more questions and more good questions. Like, for example, I'm looking. Okay, so I'm looking. Where am I looking? I'm looking at some of the best fights out of 2021 that are coming up this year, or that should come up this year. So the first one, what are the chances of us seeing Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury? Where are we in that regard?
I think the chances are pretty good. Politically, I think it works well. Matchroom works well with Top Rank and Tyson Fury. Matchroom represents Anthony Joshua. Top Rank is affiliate. Tyson Fury is affiliate with Top Rank. So that's a very, very good fit. That's a fine fit. And then if Fury wins, and I think there's a good chance Fury will win, if Fury wins, then you'll deal with the possibility of Fury Wilder 3. I think Deontay should have kept his mouth shut after he lost with some of those crazy excuses that he was coming up with. But I also believe Deontay, well, I think fans would like to see a third convincing fight, even though, again, you saw what I saw in February of 2020, that Tyson Fury pretty much dominated Deontay Wilder. So I don't think there's any question who the better fighter is. But I think Deontay deserves that third possibility. Deontay actually, I'll go a step further, Deontay actually needs that third possibility. Because right now there are guys out there that, there are guys out there that Deontay's certainly better than, and fans simply just don't want to see it. Even I'll tell you what, a Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz fight, how wacky that may sound to you, it's pretty fun fight to watch because you're dealing with two guys that would be like rock'em sock'em robots, and you're also dealing with two situations where if little roly-poly, pudgy, meatball-shaped Andy Ruiz turns around and tags Deontay, there could be some fireworks.
Yeah.
Deontay could be some trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be a good fight. I'm looking at the ring ratings that came out on earlier this week or late last week, and looking at the heavyweights as I go down the list of guys. I see Ruiz here. I see a lot of guys here, but I don't see anybody that in the heavyweight division anyway that really jumps out. I think Tyson Fury right now. I mean, I see Povetkin at 36-2-1. Dillian White out of the UK, 27-2. You got. I don't really see a lot of guys that are really threats to to Tyson Fury at this point. I mean, Anthony Joshua, you don't know what you're going to get out of him, and I think that Joshua, gets hit a lot. He's not a great defensive fighter, so I don't see Joshua beating Tyson Fury. I really don't. And even in the third Wilder Fury fight, Wilder has to show me he knows how to box to get to that explosion in his right hand. I don't see that. I don't see that in this shorter period of time that he's found religion and learned how to box. Man, I haven't seen him since that fight. But that's the question, because, like I said, his glaring weakness, lack of boxing skills, and maybe he picks up some boxing skills when they fight again. I don't know. Maybe he changes his strategy. I've seen guys do it. I've seen guys get, find a trainer that can teach you, that shows him all the right moves. We've seen it through the years, but I'm not so sure if Wilder has or not. I don't know. If he's listening to this book, he sees me a problem.
There's a name for you in the heavyweight division to watch for. Watch for Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce is very, very good. Watch for Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce is a nice fighter. He's a good fighter. I certainly don't have the size to say that someone that can play security. But he's someone that can cause some chaos there. He's someone that can create some problems. Right now, though, I'll tell you what, the world is very much focused on the lightweight division. You have Teofimo Lopez, who was already the Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year, sharing that honor with Tyson Fury. You have Tank Gervonta Davis there. You have Lomachenko there, even though he lost to Lopez. You have Devin Haney there. Now you have Ryan Garcia, who gets knocked on his tail in the second round last week and gets up and fights incredibly well, fights admirably well. There are a lot of options there. You're dealing with, you have the four.
Shakur Stevenson. What about Shakur Stevenson?
And all-timers, Duran, Hagler, Hearns, and Leonard. I mean, these five aren't on that level, but I will say this. They can create a real strong groundswell of what boxing could be and really, really put a lot of interest in the sport itself again. With, again, Teofimo Lopez, Tank Davis, Vasily Lomachenko, Devin Haney, and Ryan Garcia. It is they're five very, very good fighters in their primes. Lomachenko is over the age of 30, but the other guys, I mean, Teofimo Lopez is 23. So
what about Shakur Stevenson?
Haney, Garcia. They're dealing with a 26-year-old Tank. They're dealing with a 22-year-old Lopez. I mean, right here, right now, a beautiful situation for boxing.
Right. So Shakur Stevenson, does he come into the, because someone looking at CBSSports.com, they're saying that a good fight would be Shakur Stevenson against Vasily Lomachenko. We saw that fight. What do you think of Stevenson? Can he move up to 135, 130? Can he fight in that area? Can he be in that group that you mentioned?
I think in time, yes. Shakur is 23, but there's still some things about Shakur that I don't know if Shakur has the power to turn around. I'll tell you what, a guy that I actually really like, I'll tell you a fight to watch for there, a really good fight. two stylists, but Chris Colbert is really, really, he used to go by Little B-Hop for a while, then he changed that to, I don't know what he calls himself now, Showtime or Show Prime Time or whatever, but he's a guy that wears this garish hair, and he's only 23, 24 years old right now. He's, I think, 14 or 15-0, as well as Shakur. So he's another guy to watch for there. It is a heavy, and we have our local guy. We have Tevin Farmer, who still wants that rematch against Jojo Diaz. It's not going to happen because it looks as if Diaz has other plans, and it's kind of a shame. But sometime in early February, Diaz is scheduled to fight somebody. I don't know what Tevin's deal is right now. Tevin's just kind of waiting in limbo. You have Leo Santa Cruz, who got stopped by Tag a lot of portion of last year, but he's still a viable guy. He's still a guy that could cause some problems. But if they're willing to do it, Stevenson and Stevenson and Colbert, in my opinion, is a little bit fun.
Okay. Well, let me ask this question: will we see Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford? Will we see that? I think Spence is under Heyman, and of course Crawford's under Top Rank. Will there be enough money on the table to bring that fight about?
Yeah, there's certainly money on the table to bring that fight about. And remember, this year again, early last year, Fury fought Wilder. Fury again, Top Rank. Wilder being associated with PBC and Al Heyman. So that fight took place. And from what I know of all the behind the scenes that went on, it went very well. You have two camps, two rival camps that got together. But also, let me go back on that. I'm not going to say rival, because I deal a lot with PBC, and I deal with the Heyman group, and I deal a lot. I deal with quite a bit with the Top Rank group. I deal with a lot of groups, and I will say this about PBC and Heyman people: when I'm on the phone with them, we talk about fights. We talk about fighters. We don't talk about other promotional outlets. We don't talk about other promotional entities. They don't yell and scream and complain about anybody else. When I talk to everyone else, they yell and scream about PBC. So Heyman has a great business model. He has a great attitude. His people have a great attitude. They are people that keep it to themselves, keep it close to the vest. Not that I'm saying the other entities aren't professional. They are. But like I said, when I'm dealing with Heyman and his group, they keep it there. They keep it to our fights, our fighters, and there's yelling and no complaining about anybody else. And as I said, you had a situation here with a lot of other people. They're the ones pointing fingers at PBC. They're the ones pointing fingers at Heyman. But they can work together. I think they can work together. And right now, from what I know, I think that stumbling block comes from the Top Rank side. The Crawford side. That's why this fight's not taking place, because, again, Top Rank wants PBC to kind of bend to their will a little bit here, and PBC is not willing to budge. PBC can compromise. They're willing to compromise. I don't think Top Rank is willing to compromise. They, for some reason, think their fighter is the A side, whereas I think Spence, I think you would agree, is the A side of that fight. Not by much, but Spence is the A side of that fight.
Okay. Hey, we got to go to break, Joe. I'm gonna bring you back after the break a little bit to talk a little bit about. I want to talk about the possibility about the Charlo brothers and the possibility that Jamal could fight. Could he fight Canelo Alvarez? Who I think Alvarez is he looking to move up to light heavyweight, right? He's looking to move in that section, right? Or is he going?
You go to the ring. You will see. you will see that I did a big piece that's up there. Actually, it's the top story right now. You'll see the story I did on Canelo and his plans for 2021.
Right.
That story's up there now.
Okay, I'll take a look at that. I'll take a look at it when we come back from break.
Sure.
So stay here, stay with us, and we'll talk a little bit more. You're listening to 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURD, the Chris Murray Report. Will be right back.
Did you know you can catch the flu and COVID-19 at the same time or even back to back? Don't risk catching the flu during the COVID-19 pandemic. The flu shot is a safe and effective way of reducing your chances of catching the flu or spreading it to others. And the flu shot helps protect you and your community from the worst effects of the flu. Don't say, I should have got my flu shot. Call your doctor or visit your pharmacist and get your flu shot today.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour workday, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Okay, we are back with Joe Savvaquino talking some boxing. Just pulled up your article, and you say that there's some good possibilities for Canelo this year. Billy Joe Sanders, 30-0, 14 KOs. Caleb Plant, and that's for the 168-pound belt. They're for the super middleweight belt. Caleb Plant, 20-0 with 12 knockouts. Super middleweight champion. And then you have David Benavidez at 23-0. And, of course, you got WBC title holder or Jamal Charlo, 31-0, 22 knockouts. And, of course, the ever-imposing presence of Gennady Golovkin at 41-1. Still, and his only loss was to Canelo Alvarez. Where do you see Alvarez, and time I have left with you, where do you see Alvarez at this point? Joe?
He's going to fight a mandatory in February. Hello?
Okay.
Yeah,
you're going.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear you.
He has a mandatory in February who basically, from what I know, Canelo could basically breathe on the guy and stop the fight. So I don't think it's basically a sparring. It'll be a spirited sparring session for Canelo. Right now, Canelo is the best fighter in the world. Right now, Alvarez is someone that is on that Mayweather scale where the world should and the world is coming to him. So he's broken free from Golden Boy Promotions, just like Mayweather had broken free from Top Rank. And though Mayweather used Golden Boy as his promotional outlet for many, many years, he was still a very independent fighter. He was still very much the master and commander of his own situation, his own destiny. And that's the situation that Canelo Alvarez has created for himself. He is he's not only a promotional free agent, but he is a network free agent. So he could fight on any network. He could do what he wants to do when he wants to do it. So as he told me, straight to my face, the grand scheme is February to dust up and clean up this mandatory and hold up that obligation, and then go for the belt. So that means the possibility of a Caleb Plant, who's a PBC fighter, or Bill Joe Saunders, and his goal is February, May, and September, and then who knows, maybe even possibly December. But right now it's 3 fights in 2021. He wants to collect the belts. He wants to unify 168. So that's a big deal. You have a belt, he's going to go after. And those guys, Caleb Plant would be looking at a career-high payday to fight Alvarez. Billy Saunders would be looking at a career-high payday to fight Canelo Alvarez. So that, they're going where the money is. So these guys have belts, and Alvarez wants to collect them. Now, if Triple G wants to play along, he has to come up to 168. Canelo will not go down to 160. As he told me,
right.
Been there, done that. And right now, where Canelo is in his progression as a fighter, where he is in his progression as a person, he's always been disciplined. I would never question that. But right now, he is at his height. He is 30 years old. He is as strong as an ox. His boxing skills, he's as complete a fighter. He is as close to being the ideal fighter that he's always wanted to be. And right now, I don't think there's any disputing that. And as a matter of fact, I would go as far as saying this. If Canelo and Triple G were to fight again, where I had some doubts the first two fights, and I thought the first fight was a draw, and the first fight I did score a draw, I thought Canelo won the second fight. Canelo, I think, would destroy him if they fought a third time. I don't know, there's some people out there, Triple G, and people doing handstands and backflips. And you'll see some of the comments, by the way, underneath the story that I wrote, the headline story that I wrote, that's up there now on ringtv.com.
Right.
That's, by the way, on Facebook alone, it's gotten over 80,000 hits.
Okay.
On Facebook.
No, I got you on that one.
It's, he's out there. He is someone that draws a hell of a lot of attention. He is someone that Canelo is someone that people are very, very interested in. And as I said, he is the eye of boxing right now. He is the star of the sport, and he is one of the few that transcend the sport along with Tyson Fury. I would put him in that category. So he is. It's up to him what he wants to do when he wants to do it. So if Canelo wants a third fight, Canelo's going to have to go up and fight him. If Jamal Charlo wants a piece of Canelo, he's going to have to come up and fight him. Now, I got some feedback, I see at the bottom of the story, that says, oh, Golovkin's a real natural middleweight. Why should Max still? I've been with Triple G numerous times. Triple G's a pretty big dude for 160 pounds. As a matter of fact, I was find him a very large middleweight. I mean, he walked around at 180, 185. And, he had a fight most recently, and I think the night of the fight, he was close to, he went in that ring close to being the size of a light heavyweight. So, that's where he is. That's where things stand. And so what I'm saying is he's very capable of fighting, and I think obviously carrying his strength up 8 pounds to 168. And that's the only way Canelo's going to fight. You want to come up here, you're going to do it on my terms. And Canelo's built that cachet. He's built that foundation.
Yes, he has.
He's going to be the A side. And regardless of who he fights right now for the next 2 or 3 years, he will be the A side.
Right. Well, Joe, we got to end it right here because I got to get ready for another segment. But I definitely appreciate, and we can see you on ringtv.com and some other places. So you're around. So we will talk soon. Real quick plug. I got a chance to do a piece on Ronell Williams, Lamar Campbell, and Bilal Nichols. These are three guys from Chester who are on the Chicago Bears. Ronell's an assistant coach with the Bears. Lamar Campbell from the city of Chester, is in the executive offices of the Bears. And Bilal Nichols, as we know, is one of the starting defensive tackles at the Bears. These guys are three local guys from Chester that are doing amazing, incredible things. And I think that the gist of the story is, a lot of good things come out of Chester. I mean, a lot of good things come out of North Philly. What we see, what we hear in the African-American community a lot of times is and it's the media. It's the media. We hear about murder and gunshot and things like that. And not enough attention is paid to the good. And there's a lot of good. And we both know, Chris, there's a lot of good that comes out of North Philly and different areas of North Philly and different areas of Philadelphia, West Philly, and certainly the city of Chester. So I just wanted to give that a plug, and I was really, really kind of happy to do that on these three guys, three special guys, but three guys that are just shining examples of a lot of people in Chester and the different certain areas of Philadelphia that are doing it right and doing it well. Right. No, I appreciate that. That's true. We will be focusing, our attention. Because I would love to get. I'm trying to go. I hate to call him out public, but I'm trying to get Bozy and his son on this show to talk about.
Let me see what I could do on that front.
Okay.
Right, if you want to throw the ball in my corner, let me see what I could do on that front. See what I could do for you.
All right. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. Okay. As Joe Santoliquito, boxing writer, Eagles writer, God knows his stuff. Now, I got to, I'm waiting for, I'm waiting for Lloyd Vance to call in. Lloyd Vance is an interesting guy in the sense that he is an expert on the history of the black quarterback, and I've had him on the show numerous times, and I like to keep him plugged into us. Keep him plugged into us and talk about Jalen Hurts and his development here. We've had a lot of conversation on this show about Jalen Hurts versus Carson Wentz and what Carson Wentz didn't have and all that. But I really would like to, put some focus on Jalen Hurts. I don't know, to be honest about it. If you want to call in and give your comments, we got some free time. Got a free line here. 215-634-8065, 1-866-361-0900. I want to know, I guess what I'm curious about, do you think that at some point that Jalen Hurts will be the starting quarterback for this team? Will they opt for someone else, or will they, or the Eagles, put him, really develop him in the way that they were hoping to do with Carson Wentz? Will Carson Wentz come back? Does Wentz really want to come back to what is rapidly becoming kind of a toxic situation for him? And so I like to get everybody's points of view on that. Do you think Jalen Hurts is your franchise quarterback moving forward, considering what's happening with Carson Wentz? Is he a stopgap until maybe they get some shiny new hotshot kid out of college, or if somehow they make a deal to get to get either Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence? Or a rumor that I heard this week, on the internet, watching the internet and following what's going on, was the idea that the Eagles would trade for Deshaun Watson out of the Houston Texans. Deshaun Watson, Jordan, is someone who is not happy with the Houston Texans, and I can't blame him because of the instability of coaching and GM for that franchise. Because last year, at the beginning of the 2020 season, they traded his best weapon. It was Bill, the former head coach, traded his best weapon to DeAndre Hopkins to the Cardinals, and it seemed like the Texans went downhill from there. But Watson had a good year: 33 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions. I mean, this is a guy who still played well in spite of all the chaos that's going on around him. So, from that standpoint, you wonder, would the Eagles trade for Deshaun Watson, still in his prime, and still, good enough to be in this league? Would he fit this Eagles franchise? I mean, would he be the guy that they would trade with? Who would they give up? 3 first-round draft picks next 3 years? This year, next year, and the following year. I don't think the Eagles would give up that kind of draft pick for a Deshaun Watson. But it's an interesting thing to talk about. It's an interesting thing to kind of consider and talk about. So that's one thing. But, in my article in the Philadelphia Sunday Sun, philasun.com, piece that I wrote, I wonder, I'm wondering about, are the Eagles considering, developing Jalen Hurts into that good quarterback, into that franchise quarterback? I mean, I think that Jalen Hurts works his butt off. I think that if you saw his stats, he only completed 52% of his passes, but he gave the Eagles a chance to win. He's still a raw rookie. They're going to look at film on him. Will he adjust to what they know about him, and you know, will he be in a situation where they, you know, where they can, you know, make him their franchise quarterback? Is he capable? 215-634-8065, 1-866-361-0900. Okay, so to talk about, what are your thoughts on the Sixers this year? The Sixers are playing considerably better. Okay, they have a game tonight. You know, are they for real? You know, what are your thoughts on Doc Rivers? You know, has Doc Rivers made that difference for a Sixers team that I think this year's playing a little bit better on defense, and you know, trying to do all the right things. So if you're talking about, like I say again, if you're talking about where the Sixers are, you know, do they have enough, as one person asked Keith Pompey, to win the East? I don't think they do. I'm not optimistic that they do, and I don't necessarily believe that they, you know, can, you know, that they still need a lot of firepower in a very, very competitive Eastern Conference. So let me see. What do we have? We have Pots and Pans from West Philadelphia. Pots and Pans, what's happening?
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing okay.
That's great, man. I want to say congratulations to you. And
thank you.
The best. You and your wife are the best in this life and the hereafter, man. You're a wonderful
Thank
man.
you.
Yes, indeed. Hey, about the game, about the Eagles, when they had right there in the end zone, you know, they had 3 chances and they didn't make it. I think they should have went for the field goal to tie the game up.
They should have.
Yeah, that was right there. That's the suspect right there. What's going on? Why they didn't do that? You know, when the coach talk about they play to win. How about getting the position to win? You know, you see they had 3 chances within the 5-yard line, and they didn't do it. They couldn't get it. You know, they could have been called better plays, but since they couldn't do it, kick a field goal, go for the, you know, tie game, and then go from there because the defense ain't playing too bad, you know. And
defense actually played well in that game.
Right. And everybody's stepping up their game, you know, and I believe they could have won that game. I don't think, I don't know about the politics of it, but as far as losing the game on purpose to get Washington to beat New York, because, you know, they don't like New York. They're all in the same conference, but also just to get that 6th position to pick, you know. So there's some funny stuff going on about that, so I don't know. But all I know, they could have tied the game easily and had a good chance of beating them, you know, with Jalen Hurts. So, and I would like to think that if Carson Hurts would come back and they both can back up each other and play together, you know, like play to win. And I pick the whole rest of the team up, offense and defense, because you know you get hurt when you don't play good. Give it all your strength, all you got. Now, I used to play ball too, so I know how it goes. Give it all you got. That loses your chances of getting hurt. You know, bad. Everybody will get hurt and get stung, this and that. But if you got that enthusiasm, you know, you can roll it off, you know, and get on for the next play. So that's what I think, you know, it's basically that Carson Wentz to do that. And the Eagles, if they really want to win, gotta have other people want to get to the Eagles team once they show they got some firepower and want to win. They got each other's back. And I just want to say, that's all I really want to say. And thanks a lot for everything.
No problem.
Good one, man. A good, happy life for the rest of y'all, for you and your wife.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks for the call. You know, I mean, well, one thing that's not necessarily realistic. I don't think you're going to have Wentz and Hurts under the same roof. I really don't think that's realistic now. But I think either one of them is going to be there next year. So we'll deal with it when we come back from the break. You're listening to 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURD, the Chris Murray Report. Will be right back.
This message is from the Philadelphia Department of Public Health. COVID-19 is still a threat in our communities, but we can all do something simple to help stop the spread. It's critically important to wear a mask or face covering whenever you're in public or around others. Yes, even while social distancing. Wearing a mask shows you care for yourself and your community and is essential to slowing the spread of COVID-19. So love yourself, love your neighbors, wear a mask.
You know that feeling? Like every door is closing and you just can't see a way out? Being unemployed, underemployed, or just out of school can feel like that. But when you find the right tools, suddenly everything just clicks. FindSomethingNew.org offers resources that help develop new skills that can position you for careers in today's growing industries, from healthcare and manufacturing to cybersecurity and alternative energy. Find your path to a new career at FindSomethingNew.org. A message from the Ad Council.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Okay, we are back. Online with us is my man Lloyd Vance, who is the one of the main researchers for the book Third and a Mile by William C. Roden, Bill Roden of the New York Times. And I always call him my resident expert on the history of the African-American quarterback. And Lloyd, I got to ask you, do you think, I mean, you saw what happened last week in the game against Washington. Philadelphia is 3 points down. Instead of kicking the field goal, they decided to go for it, and then they pull Hurts out of the game. And to me, this is just my opinion, and I want you to answer this question. In my opinion, to me, I question how committed the franchise is, maybe Doug Peterson, the coaching staff. I wonder how committed they are to Jalen Hurts' development. What did you think of that whole situation last week?
Yeah, Chris, Happy New Year. It was crazy.
Thank you.
You know, it's a situation where you're sitting there, and I'm like so many Eagles fans that were emailing me in utter disbelief. And you know, you have a coach that is executing a plan probably from he and the front office very badly on national football, on national TV, and everybody's seeing it, and there's no pulling the wool from your eyes. You know exactly what they're doing. And I kind of agree with you in that they valued more a draft pick getting to number 6 instead of number 9 rather than Jalen Hurts and believing in him. So I would tend to think that this leads to Carson Wentz repairing his relationship, staying there, and Hurts just being a guy that's, you know, he's under contract. He can't go anywhere, and he's got to just be a good player and play along with their strategic plan that they have from above.
Wow. So, you know, let me ask this question then. Is Jalen Hurts capable of being a starting quarterback, someone's franchise quarterback? I've heard different people say that he has an arm stronger than Russell Wilson, that he's Russell Wilson he's a bigger version of a Russell Wilson. And I'm just curious, you know, the Eagles drafting him as a second-round pick. They probably need to get some value out of him, but can he be that guy to be, you know, that franchise-defining quarterback?
Yeah, and the small, limited body of work that we got to see with him, unfortunately, you know, he probably should have played a lot earlier because Wentz was playing so bad, led the NFL with 15 interceptions. And the limited body that we've seen, I thought Hurts played very well under the circumstances. Let's not forget the offensive line was very beat up. You saw that he could use his legs to make plays. The guys around him were buying in. So, yes, I think if they gave him an opportunity to compete, he could be a starting quarterback in the National Football League. There's so many guys out there that are starting, like a Gardner Minshew or somebody like that, or Mitchell Trubisky. He's just as good as those guys, and he just needs an opportunity.
Right. I want to also ask you a little bit about the Dwayne Haskins situation. And I had a young lady from from the D.C. area talk about that situation with Dwayne Haskins. What, in your estimation, happened? And I asked the question. I mean, I think it's a combination of a lot of things, but I kind of felt that Haskins was in a situation. I thought Washington, even when they drafted him a couple of years ago, I thought that was the worst situation he could have landed in. I thought that was the worst situation he could have landed in because of the instability. How much does that, an unstable franchise, how much does that impact on a quarterback's development?
No doubt about it. And when you have a situation where let's face it, he was the owner's pick, and Daniel Snyder wanted him a lot more than Jay Gruden and his folks there that picked him at the time. And it just left kind of a stain on him. And let's face it, he probably did not help himself in some of the immature things that he did there. He needs to grow up a little bit, and he made some bad decisions. But you have Gruden and his folks leaving, and then you have Rivera coming in to stabilize this organization and help save it, because let's face it, Snyder may have to sell the team, which has made everything a total disarray. And Rivera is a no-nonsense guy, and he really saw Haskins as a player that was not buying in. He had Heineke, who's there, one of the guys that he brought in, and Allen, another guy he brought in from his Carolina days, and he'd rather have those guys play and manage the game. But I do believe that Haskins has ability, he has talent, and you're going to see him get another opportunity in the league.
Yeah, I understand Carolina's looking at him. What happens? I mean, I'm wondering how quarterbacks, when they come into situations, especially black quarterbacks, how would you say they ought to handle those type of situations? Because I look back to Vince Young, where Jeff Fisher wasn't necessarily happy about bringing him there. I think they wanted Matt Leinart, and yet the owner kind of overruled him, and then they brought Young there, and then Fisher moves on to coach the Rams, and they get other young quarterbacks there that don't develop. How does a quarterback react to those situations where the situation is not stable, or can they react to it at all, trying to learn the game and then still trying to be basically a starter under those kinds of bizarre circumstances?
Yeah, it's a tough situation for them, and I know a lot of them lean on their support system, their families, their agents, but first and foremost, they have to go out and win football games, and then that's going to ingratiate them to any coach, because the coach, no matter if they didn't want it or not, if they're winning games, they'll find a way to use the player and work with them. But Vince was an unfortunate situation, as you're saying, as so many African-American quarterbacks. I feel like a lot of times they don't get as long a leash as some of these other guys out there. We look at Carson Wentz now. Can you imagine if he had been an African-American quarterback? They probably would have pulled him a lot quicker. So,
yeah,
they have to go in, they have to work hard, and lead by example. And you're seeing this with so many of the African-American quarterbacks are out there today. They've just embraced the situation. And a lot of them now are becoming the face of a franchise, like almost the way the NBA does, where they have some say-so.
Right. Well, speaking of quarterbacks, and let's talk about. I want to talk about the collegiate level before we get back to the pros and the playoffs. I want to talk about that too. Justin Fields had a monster game against Clemson in the college football semifinal, and I thought that I was like, wow. I mean, he threw a lot of deep passes. It was almost like watching him playing playground football. Yet when you listen to guys like Mel Kiper Jr., and Mel Kiper is, for the most part, kind of a reliable source, I guess, but he was saying that right now Trevor Lawrence is so far ahead of Justin Fields. Does Justin Fields have to kind of prove himself in this national championship game against an Alabama team that has so much firepower? Where do you see Justin Fields falling in this situation?
Yeah, Chris, I think right now the media and the draft evaluators are enamored with Trevor Lawrence, and they look at all his measurables, and they've seen him for so many years. But when I look at Justin Fields, I think he is just as good as Trevor Lawrence at this point. We've seen the maturation of him from when he was at Georgia, and then he comes to Ohio State. And then the game that you just talked about, he just picked apart the defense and just looked incredible in a game where Ohio State was the underdog. So I think if he can come out and play very well against an Alabama team that's loaded with NFL prospects, he'll have a really good chance of possibly moving up. Now, Jacksonville and everybody that I hear from down there, they seem to think Trevor Lawrence is their pick and he's their guy. But this may be a situation like we saw where Andrew Luck comes out, the Colts had to have him, and then RG3 was in the same draft, and they kind of get compared against each other.
Wow. So looking at these, looking at the quarterbacks that are in, look at Lamar Jackson. He has a tough matchup against Tennessee. He is 0-2 in the playoffs and really struggled against teams like Tennessee. Although I thought he had a pretty decent game when they played earlier this season. Do you anticipate Lamar Jackson coming out with a bit of a chip on his shoulder, looking to prove themselves in that situation? Because here's a guy who's done really well. He's played well the last 5 weeks of the regular season. Do you see him possibly, maybe is this his year to really show everybody that he can be a playoff winning quarterback?
So, Chris, last year they're 14-2. They come in the playoffs, and everybody just seemed to put all the pressure on him. It was a home football game, and I think this time he's playing in Tennessee. He's on the road. The Ravens are on a 6-game winning streak. So this is a game where, you're right, he has to prove himself. He's 0-2 in the playoffs, MVP last year, and he's kind of going to live up to those press billings. And I think he kind of will today, because this is opportunity against a Tennessee defense where he should be able to move the football. So both these teams run the football better than any team in the National Football League. Last week, Ravens run for over 400 yards in a victory, and he gets his second 1,000th season, the only quarterback to ever do that. So I think he'll spread the football around and make some big plays, and I have picked the Ravens to win today. So this will be a big stage for him today.
All right. Thank you very much. There's Lloyd Vance. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time. We will see you next week on the Chris Murray Report on WURD 96.1 FM, 900 AM. Thank our guests, Lloyd Vance, Kelsey Nicole Nelson, and Joe Santaquito, and all you guys who called in today. We will see you.